Hi, and welcome to Get Career Happy with Julie, a program of Anderson Community Television. Today I want to talk about getting back in the workforce. People leave the workforce for a variety of reasons. The most common is to be with their children. I'm talking about a voluntary leave from the workforce, not when you've been out of work for a while. I want to talk from two perspectives today. To those of you who are thinking about leaving the workforce to stay home with your children or for another personal reason, and to those of you who are already out and are looking to get back in. You may have heard it called off-ramping and on-ramping. Off-ramping from your career to take care of something else in your life, on-ramping after that period of time is over and you're looking to get back to work. Now this is primarily women, but of course there are more men doing this than ever before. On top of that, many of us are in the sandwich generation. We're dealing with parents, we're dealing with spouses, we're dealing with our children, we're dealing with people all over in all parts of our lives who are dealing with health issues. I'm sure you know many people who are dealing with their kids as well as their elderly parents at the same time. So sometimes it makes sense. And then also sometimes we're sick and we need to be out of work for a while. So how do you get back in? Maybe we need a break. The best way to do that from an off-ramping standpoint is to do it planfully. Sometimes that's not possible, I know. When you are leaving work, for whatever reason, you always want to do it the right way. You want to give people plenty of notice, explain what you can, as much as you're comfortable with, of course, without revealing sensitive details. And you want to make sure that you give people notice and that you're passing things on as clearly as possible so that people aren't stuck wondering, what the heck did he or she do with this customer? You also want to think as you leave, is this a career that I think I'd like to get back into when it's time for me to come back to work? Or while I'm out, do I really want to explore other things besides where I've been? You know, we make a lot of career changes in our lives, and it's going to continue to be that way. And so when you leave one phase of your life, tend to something in the personal realm, and then go back, it's okay to go back as something different. From an off-ramping standpoint, from my perspective and what I've seen, the worst thing you can do is go off the ramp and then disappear. Go into your cave and keep no connections with anybody from your past life. Now, no one expects you to go off to take care of your personal issues and stay as connected as you were. The mistake a lot of people make when they leave the workforce for a while, let's take the most common example and talk about tending to children. 5 to 6 years later, they want to come back and they start calling everybody they know and expect to be received back like, hey, yay, you're ready to come back. We've been waiting for you. As you know, that's not realistic. Time marches on. And so it's much easier to come back into the workforce if you've made a concerted effort and a plan to stay in touch with a few key people. Let's say that you're in marketing and you want to stay in marketing. You like marketing. And so you know that that's what you want to do when you come back. The best thing you can do is join a local marketing association or stay in a professional marketing association so you can stay up to date on what's going on in the field of marketing, the trends, the new technology, who are the key players, and keep some semblance of contact with people from that field. That doesn't take more than a couple hours a month. And then maybe when you've got some time, go on and read blogs. Stay up to date. Do some things on your own time, maybe that aren't dictated by meeting times, so that you can stay up to date as possible. Now, what if you look at it and you say, you know what, I don't like marketing. I want to do something else. Your time off while you're taking care of your personal issue is a great time to start thinking big and dreaming big about what else you might like to do. Again, the mistake people make is they get off the off-ramp and they put down a barrier between themselves and what they did professionally and any thoughts of what they're going to do next professionally, and they just let the clock tick. The problem is you can get out of date and you can get behind and out of touch so quickly that even what's available in the job market and what careers are out there potentially for you as you look to change get away from you. Then what happens is when you're ready to get back in, you have so much catch up to do that it starts to feel impossible. and you start to feel overwhelmed, and you start to feel undervalued, and you start to feel like there's nothing I can do. I'm so far behind. Technology, just take technology. It changes already at such a pace that from week to week, it's easy to start feeling like you're behind. It's like every week you hear about a new application or a new program, and you hear that Facebook's in and Facebook's out, and Snapchat's in and Snapchat's out. It's hard enough to keep up with our kids when it comes to technology, let alone with our professions. So when you're looking to off-ramp, the first question to ask yourself is, do I likely want to continue this career, or do I want to look for something different? If you want to stay in the career, put together a plan to at least stay minimally or marginally up to date. Maybe it's getting together with a group of people that you respect once a month, or not, maybe not once a month, but once a quarter. That will help keep you up to date. And then if you say, I really think I'm looking for something else, don't wait for the career fairy to come and give you the aha in the middle of the night. You need to, when you have time, you need to work it in to figure out what other careers are out there. How might I use my knowledge, my skills, and my experience to pivot or parlay that into a different career? It's not going to come to you, and you don't have to do it all at once. And sure, if you're staying out to have kids and you've just had a new baby, no one expects you to start thinking big or start thinking about what's next in your career right away. But if you really have intention of going back, but you don't know what you want to be going back as, believe me, when you get to the point that you're ready to go back, it is going to be infinitely harder to make your case that you're ready to get back and that you haven't lost touch or you haven't lost a step. So, you're gone, you leave, you make things easy, you've decided now, I think I want to stay in marketing as an example, or I want to do something different. Either way, you need a plan. And it can be a baby step plan. It doesn't have to be a plan or a project, something to the level that you attack with the same vim and vigor that you did when you were working. But you do need to move forward. At a certain point, you're going to decide, it's time for me to start thinking about what I want to do next. How do I want to get back in the workplace? And in the case of having a baby, I get it. You don't know how you're going to feel once you're holding that bundle of joy. You may have decided, I really want to keep working. And then you have your baby and you say, I can't imagine ever going back. Or you might say, I can't wait to get back. Then you have the baby and you say, I never want, I think I screwed that up. You never want to go back. Either you have the baby and you say, I want to go back and I didn't think I would. Or you have the baby and you say, I never want to go back and you thought you would. You know what I mean? But we get all jumbled up, don't we? It's hard to remember. It's hard to know how we're going to feel. Or after we've been out with a health situation, it's hard to know how we're going to feel moving forward. But you want to think about taking those baby steps. Now, I'm ready to go back. Now what do I do? If you've let your contacts die, if you haven't let people stay up to date, if you haven't kept your contacts up to date, if you haven't kept your eye on the market, it's very, very difficult to get back in. And unfortunately, this is what we see more often than not. We see women especially, or people who say, I've been out for so long that I've lost any sense of my value in moving forward. And what we do a lot of times, especially women I see, is that we devalue or dismiss the kinds of things we've been doing since we've been out. If you've been out for 6 months, 9 months, or a year, that is certainly a different story than if you've been out for 5, 10, 15 years. And sometimes we go back because we want to, and sometimes we go back because we have to, because of things that have happened in our lives. Get very clear on what your value is in the market. I have contacts that have made this transition out and transition back in very successfully because they kept their skills up when they were out, but they also got involved in other things. I have a friend who's run several fundraisers for the schools her kids have been in. And not only is she a genius at organizing and making stuff happen, but she's also a genius at creative fundraising. Don't you think that those planning and organizing skills, those get it happen, take initiative, manage teams of volunteers type of skills are valued in the market? Of course they are. So it's not all I did was do fundraisers. It was, let me tell you about the large-scale fundraisers that I managed and how much money we were able to bring in and the creative and innovative ways I did that. Let me tell you about the leadership role I had in my church and how I was able to go out and either raise money, bring in speakers, get projects done, create new programs or opportunities within my church. Let me tell you about what I did in my volunteer organizations. Let me tell you, even though I had twins, I stayed involved in the American Marketing Association chapter here in my area, and let me tell you how I was still involved. You can make the transition seamless if you're smart and strategic about it. If you say, here's how I kept myself up to date, if you make a real effort to do so, if you connect with your professional worlds and make a point of building new professions and build your new profession, there's nothing scarier than trying to get back in the market once you've been out for a long period of time. And the lack of confidence and the fear in moving forward can be crippling. I've worked with a lot of people who've been out either because they stayed home with their children or because their parents had a health crisis or they had a health crisis or their spouse did. And what happens is the longer we're away, the less confidence we have that anybody is ever going to want us to come back. And if you don't manage that between your ears and have a plan for dealing with it and create your own success stories while you're out, then you're right. You are creating a bigger hill to climb as you try to get back in the job market. And by the way, as you're telling your story, as you look to get back in the job market, there is nothing wrong with saying, here's why I was out. Now, it depends on why you're out. But if you say, and I've had clients do this, if you say, I chose to stay home with my kids for the last 6 years. The last one is now beginning, my youngest is now beginning first grade. And so therefore, I am interested in getting my career up and running again. I'm interested in revving it up. And here are some of the things I did when I was out at my kids' school on a volunteer basis and a professional networking basis. Maybe it's taking online classes. And given all of that, here's how I want to get back in the job market. And here, Mr. Employer, are some of the things I can do for you. When we use our networks, it's easier to do this. My friend I was telling you about that's done all these great fundraisers, the people who've worked directly with her while she did the fundraisers, and some of those are people who were in the career market and never got out. Those people, when they found out she was available, were like, hey, why don't you come in and talk to our company? You did such a great job with these fundraisers. And believe it or not, and you probably should believe it, that's how she got her next job, from people who saw how good she was out there doing something she wasn't getting paid for. People who know us best, people who've seen us utilizing our skills, people who've experienced us in some way will always be our best connection back into the job market. If your strategy for on-ramping is simply to apply for jobs online, believe me, you're not going to get there. It's going to be much more painful for you than it has to be, because all people see on your resume is the gap. When you know people, when you're connecting to people who know you, who like you, who think highly of you, and who've experienced some of your skills and qualifications, either in your unpaid work or back when you were working, those are the people who are going to carry your message forward. Those are the people who are going to open doors for you. So as you're making a list of your skills, your interests, your experiences, the things you like to do, the things that you feel like you've been good at, take the time to also make a list of who those people are. People who can give you feedback, people who can connect you to their contacts, people who can connect you to opportunities in their organization. Share with them what you've done in your past career, what you've done since you've been out of work, and what you're looking to do next. Enlist them as helpers in your efforts to get yourself back in the job market. And don't feel like you have to jump back in with both feet right away. Start small. Get some successes. Maybe do some consulting for a small business on the side. Maybe help someone organize. Maybe if you're super organized. Maybe you help some new moms in your neighborhood get organized. Maybe you, if you're a good writer, maybe you offer to edit or write some things for somebody you know who's a small business owner who maybe doesn't have time to do all of that. What can you do to be helpful inside your circles of influence so that you can build references, strong word of mouth, and buzz? Once you've done that, it's easier to see your step to what you can do next. But when you're sitting at home wondering who's ever going to hire me, and all you see out there is is what your goal is or what your dream is, and you think, how am I ever going to go from here to there? That's when it gets really overwhelming, and it's really simple to fall back into, no one's ever going to hire me. I'm just a mom. That's all I've been doing is just staying home with my kids. You and I know that that is not true. So put your head up, be able to look somebody in the eye and say, here's what I did before I left the career market. Here's what I've done. Stay in touch and keep myself up to date. And given all that, here's what I can do for you moving forward. Take baby steps. Find someone who believes in you and who believes you can do that. Ask them for an opportunity. And maybe at the beginning it's a little bit of volunteer work. Ask for an opportunity to create the buzz, build your feedback, get great references, and then parlay that into paid work. When you take something a little bit at a time, it's not near as overwhelming, and you won't be tempted to just pull the covers over your head and go back to bed. I know, I've been there. So step out, step up, and take one step at a time. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. You'll be amazed what happens. I'll see you back here next time, and good luck.